All right, everybody, we are on day 10, Nest Makers. We are heading towards our bite off. I can't believe we're getting close to the 2 week mark, but we are moving at 20 minutes at a time. So let's wake up our brains. You can do this. You can make a game inside of a month. We are working on aesthetics, right? So yesterday we made a player. Remember, we kind of made this animated player. Don't laugh at my horrible animations. They were quick, but we did this sort of walking animation, and that's hilariously bad. I would obviously go back and say that doesn't look too horrible. It looks like a NES game. But what we want to talk about today is we want to create a tile set for our game, and I'm going to make mine take place in sort of a dungeon-y kind of area. I think that would be relevant to this style of game. And sometimes I'll look at art that is way better than what I'm capable of creating for the NES, just to get some inspiration. I'll look at games that have really cool art styles that maybe use full color graphics and things like that, but 2D top down games to know what elements I should create. What should the floor kind of look like? What should a rock wall look like? Or should I use bricks? Or how big should the bricks be? I'll just look for references. I already looked at a couple references. I got some ideas for this, and I'm going to talk through a couple of a couple of tricks to make your tile sets look a little bit cooler. Again, I'm not a pixel artist. I'm absolutely not a pixel artist. So if I could do this, you guys can. I'm going to go to my pixel editor, and you can see I've got my background CHR there. I've got my background too. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to make another canvas by going to new BMP 128 by 128 full tile set. Now remember, if I turn on my 16 pixel grid, this right here is what's going to fit in a main tile set. I could conceivably load 2 main tile sets to a screen at a time. The rest is really reserved for my HUD, which that's where my letters and numbers went. So I can use this space, but right now I'm not even worried about that. I just kind of want to make something. Like I want to start making graphics and iterate on some stuff and look good. So the first thing that I'm going to show you guys how to do is I'm going to show you guys how to make just a straight up good looking brick wall. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up a blank palette by going to palette 1. And by the way, you can name these if you really want to. So if I go over to palettes, I can go to all palettes, and you can see I can name them. So I could right click on this and rename this to Dungeon Pal 1. And that will just make it easier for me to remember what that's for. So if I go back to my pixel editor now, go back to my pixel editor, and I can see it's now called Dungeon Pal 1. And I'm going to make use of grays and dark blues. So my first palette is going to be light gray, dark gray, and sort of this deep color blue here. And that's going to between the black and the light gray and the dark gray and that. What I've found is that gray doesn't always look at the best at bricks. Sometimes for the NES, bizarro colors like pinks and purples and stuff actually look way cooler. But we'll start with gray just to demonstrate the point. I think grays and browns would look pretty neutral. So let's say we looked at how to make a block. Let's talk about how we can make bricks really easy. In that sort of standard Mario style brick. I'm going to turn on my 8 pixel grid as well, and I'm going to think about this as using all 4 of these colors. So what I'm going to do is, this is sort of my midtone, this is my highlight, this is my shadow, and I could even get a deeper shadow if I wanted. I don't know if I need a deeper shadow for a brick, but let's do this. So I'm going to fill this whole area right here with my neutral color like this, and I'm going to turn on enable palette translation. And I've got this gray blob right here. I'm going to use black, and I'm going to draw a line across the top. And I'm going to draw a line across the top here. Then I'm going to draw a line to the right of here, and a line to the right of here. And that's it. And what's going to happen is when this pattern repeats, I'm going to have these strict lines of where those bricks are. And now what I could do is I'm going to use a highlight color on the top. Highlight color on the top here, highlight color on the top here, highlight color on the top here. And I'm going to put a highlight color on the right. So that would be here. And if I think about it, it would be here, because then we would loop back and we'd have solid. And then I'll put the shadow color on the bottom. And usually what I'll do is this little trick right here on the bottom. And usually what I'll do is I'll also use my normal gray. Oops. Sorry. For this pixel right here. And that kind of almost makes it look like it's the highlight, but it's in the sort of highlight area, but then we get the shadow. Optional, totally optional to do that. Now this may look good, it may not. Again, I could do the same thing here, like that, so it kind of looks like it's a shadow of that. There's all these sort of tricks I can do with that. But if you really want to see what this looks like as a sort of a cycled tile, as sort of a pattern, turn off your grids, and what you can do is you can copy this by using your select tile, your tile selection, Control C, go right next to Control V, and you can kind of see how this would look if it was tiled. And that's kind of a pretty cool little brick pattern that we did in just a couple of seconds. Especially if I zoom out, you can really see how this would look in game, and it kind of has a really cool look, a very standard sort of NES brick look. So I'm gonna walk all the way back out to my bricks. Now, chances are, if you've got this kind of game, you might have like 2 level of bricks. So like you want ones that get darker. So we're going to come back to that. But first, I want to show you guys how to make like a rock wall, like a really interesting looking rock wall. So this is a pretty common thing that sort of my students have struggled with. I'm going to show you what I mean by picking a different color here. I'm going to go with purples. So I'm going to go with like this shade, so bright light color, and then medium color there, and then dark color. And for some reason, for the NES, man, this has a really cool look. I'm going to use the same thing for my rock wall. You can use browns and stuff like that. You just don't have as much, and you might want to use them for characters and monsters and stuff like that. For some reason, I love using these bright colors for these. And you look no further than the original Legend of Zelda and the colors of some of the dungeons. Really cool stuff. So for this, I'm going to use a middle tile somewhere over here. And I'm going to use my pencil tool, and I'm going to think rocks. So I'm going to use my shadow tone, which, or, you know, I could, a couple ways I could do this. I could fill this in with my middle tone, and then I could use black and sort of blob this out and sort of think, okay, I'm thinking rock. So I want to think, you know, notice I'm not clicking and dragging. I'm kind of being a little bit more intentional with where I'm placing stuff, and I'm just trying to make some like sort of interesting patterns in here, and we're going to talk about how to make this work better and how we can use this as a starting point to make cool looking cobblestones or brick walls. And I want to try and keep mostly the rocks roughly the same size. So if you're imagining this now, I'm not being careful with this at all. We're going to see how I can refine this and fix it and make it look cooler in a minute. Let's do that. And then, you know what? I'm going to make sure that doesn't look sore. This is a terrible rock formation. We're going to see in a second what we have to fix. And here's a trick. So again, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to copy. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to paste 9 of them all around it. And now I'm going to turn my grid off. And you can see like it does not work at all. What we want to start doing is we want to start lining up the edges. So I'm going to turn back on my grid. And so I can already see a couple places that are problematic. Right here, this does not line up with this. So I really need to do this. And this right here at the bottom, where does this lead off to? It almost looks like I've got to do something like this. And now that will take care of itself. And I don't know if I love that. So I've got to connect this like this to that over here. And this, again, so this should probably be closed, and this should probably come down. And I'm just lining it up with what I see on the left. Now, I've changed what's on the left. So this is going to change. That's going to change what I have over here. So I'm going to have to sort of think about that. So this is going to have to line up with this over here. And then this right here is obviously not working. So if I can think about where this is, I'm going to have to do this. And something like this, and then that should work, and then this doesn't work right here, so that works a little bit better, and this right here maybe looks like that. And I don't love like how open that is, so what I might do is now I'm going to use that as an excuse to fill this out like that. And now I've refined it, and I'm not saying that it's perfect yet, so let's see what happens if I then take that and I repeat that process of copying this, Control C, and pasting it everywhere. And now if I take that away, we're a lot closer to a rock wall. Now, it's still, I don't like this. That's a pattern I keep seeing. So I definitely want to get rid of that. And some of the places are not quite as open as I want. But as I start to do the shading, you're going to start to see some cool things start to happen, even with something that I don't love. So let's see, where was that bad place I didn't like? I didn't like this right here. So this is this right here. So I'm going to get rid of that. That was very evident that there was something going, that was repeated pattern. I don't love this. And if I'm doing that, then maybe I'll get rid of that. So my rocks are a little bit bigger in most places. I could even get rid of this, and then I got to get rid of this one. Let's see what that looks like. So my rocks are a little bit bigger in most places with a couple of small rocks in there. And now we're starting to get somewhere that I think looks, that's decent other than this. I don't like that. So one more revision here. So this whole cluster right here I don't love. So let me get rid of, no, I really need that. So it's really got to be on this side that I got to get rid of it. So let's see, I'm going to make this come down, and yeah, it's just going to have to be what it is. We're going to deal with it. Okay, so now I've got to make some decisions. Let me copy this. Let me make sure, because I see another area that's problematic. Let me see if I fixed it. Let me see. Yeah, now this is problematic right here. Sorry. So I'm going to get rid of that. There we go, like that. Okay, so. Okay. So now turn that off, and now, sure, good enough. As we start to add shadows and highlights, this is going to become more magical. So I'm going to do like a sort of a straight up shadows and highlights thing, and not use any dithering or not give it any texture or anything like that. And so I'm just really looking at this one again. What I'm going to do is on the bottom and to the left, I'm going to add sort of this almost pillow shading, and these dark corners, I'm going to fill them all in. If it's a small little one like that, I'm going to fill it all in like that. And again, I'm going to come down here and do that, and that's going to come up like this. And I'm going to do this. And really, I'm focusing on the bottom left, so I'm not going to do anything there, but here I will. And here I will do this one right here, and the rest will be picked up by these other, and then here for sure. Like that. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of do the highlight color anywhere that's sort of the top and the right, like this. And that's this one right here. I'm going to get that, and then that's going to come up down here. And then this across the top here. And this is actually, I mean, it's not going to look great, but you're going to see how quick it like gives it some texture, like that. And this might be covered in shadow, like right here, because it's sort of underneath that one, it looks like. But again, we're just sort of getting an approximation. We could always fix this up later. I also got to get some dark right here, which I missed. And black right there. Like that. And I didn't do that much. I'm going to make this a little bit thicker of a rock, so like that. Now I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste that around. And again, I'm probably going to have some tweaks. Oops. I'm going to copy that and paste that around. So if I made this into a rock wall, we would actually get something that looks like this, which that's a pretty cool looking rock wall. That's kind of neat. The last thing that I might do, and it depends on the style that you're going for, is I would go into some dithering. So I would turn this back on, and I might use black for this. I might use the darkest color. I might even dither the lightest color. So really focusing on just this center one. Zooming in, really focusing on the center one. I'm going to start putting some sort of sketched out details in here where it's not every single pixel. It's kind of like every other pixel. And I'm also going to do that. You're going to see I'm going to do a couple of little dithering tricks here. I tend to like the dithering with the darker color for caves and stuff. For some reason, it looks right. It looks... it gives me the sort of texture that I would expect to see, like that kind of thing. And then what I could do is I could take black and I could dither sort of the bottom corners of these, especially if they're ones that are supposed to be really in shadow. And so maybe I do this. And this might be too much for your game. It really depends on the style, the art style that your game is going for. But I think this is a pretty cool effect. And I'll do this one like this. And so this one has a darker corner there, and maybe do that. All right, so if I take that and copy that one, and now we've really got sort of a cool rock wall. I could also dither the lighter part, so the lighter part sort of hedged back into it. But if I take that away and I zoom out to how we're going to see this on the screen, we've now got like a textured sort of rock wall. And again, is this too much texture for you? Maybe. Maybe you like it a little bit smoother. And in looking at my rock wall and the pattern, I kind of liked it a little bit smoother, honestly. So I'll zoom back in. And again, I only have to worry about that middle one. So I'll keep the dithering in the black, but I'll get rid of the dithering in here. So these sort of stray pixels, I don't have to worry about that one so much. These stray pixels like that, I'll get rid of, and that'll make it a little bit cleaner. But I'll still add keep the black dithered in, so it'll just preserve a little of that texture. It'll make it feel a little bit more organic. All right, so now if I turn that off, now again I've got like a really cool looking rock wall. It looks like it's got shadow. It looks like it's got volume. And I've got this cool brick wall here. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this out of here and paste it in here. And then I can get rid of all of this. I'm done with this pattern. And there we go. Now, you might have a game where you don't want it to look like it's just flat against the ground, or you might want like a ceiling or something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy it and place it down here, and I'm going to make it going to a ground tile, and then I'm going to make it going to, well, I haven't even decided what my ground tiles are going to look like yet, and then I'm going to make it going to a ceiling, which I can definitely try and do. And so to do that, let's do the ceiling. I'm going to zoom in, and this is actually a great trick for platformers too. For my ceiling, I'm going to use maybe this much to demonstrate that this is the top of something, and this is just going to be black. So let's see. Do I want to do that? What I can do instead is this. I'm going to copy this. I lied. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this the top of something. So I'm going to erase that like this. And I'm going to think about where these rocks would sort of come up. And I'm going to try and trace those lines like this. So this rock would come up like this. And this rock might come up like this. And this one would come up. And that would have to meet this one. And maybe I'll do that. And then I could add sort of the light color, because this is now the top of this. And this whole area up here is, we're probably going to do something like this. We're probably going to make this mostly the lighter shade, because this would be getting the light, but we want to make sure that we're giving it the texture, because that's what's going to sell that it's organic, that it's a rock wall. So we might have texture sort of on both sides of this, just to sort of give it. And you know what, I'm going to put black so I have a defined line on this side, and then I'd probably make that black come in and dither, and then around that black dithering, then I would put my darker color purple like this. Like that, and then I would put my medium color purple like this, and I could also just add some like details like this, just to make it look a little bit more interesting. And what we end up now, if I zoom out of this, is you can see it. Oops. You can see I've got like a topper for this, right? So I could make it the whole thing, or I could just make it that. It's all going to be a solid wall anyway. Now I'm going to make a ground tile underneath it. And so let's think about what I want for my ground to this. I'm going to use sort of the standard Zelda-looking ground, or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll try this. I'll try and make it look like it's ambient sort of stone on the ground. So my main tile is going to be just completely this mid-tone, or this light gray. That's my main tile right there. It's just sort of ground. It's ugly kind of ground. I'm going to then make another one that's an ugly color gray. And for this one, I want some stones of some various shapes. And they're going to be roughly rectangular, and they're going to be, you know, what I want to do to make that a little less, oops. I'm going to make that, I'm going to make round their edges a little bit, like this. And this looks a lot better in a higher fidelity game, obviously. And then I'll make like a third one over here, which will be, maybe I'll see the cobbles a little bit more. like this. They'll be a little bit more defined cobbles like this. And I'll go in and round those off. And just for fun, you can make versions of these that are sort of crack tiles too. But this should be relatively interesting as a starting point. This is my ground. Now, if this is my ground, what I want to do is I want to make sure that I won't be able to have this as a wall and this is a ground. So what I'm going to have to do, because I'll have this as this color and the ground will be this color. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to copy this, paste it in, and what I'll have to do is I'll use black and sort of show where the edge of those blocks are like this. So maybe for these ones that would jut further down, I'll do that like that, and it'll look like we've got kind of a shadow going on here. Or actually, that's probably what we're going to have to do. So this is my ground tile, and if I want, I can make a couple of these. So basically, I could take this, and I could also copy these patterns in like this, and paste it here. So I've got ones that kind of match these, but can be up against a wall. So I'll copy this, and I'll do the same thing. And I will copy this one. Oops, I'll copy this one. I won't be able to copy that much of it, so I'll copy this much of it. And I'll paste it right here like this. And then I can go through and touch that up like that. There. So, so anyway, so now I've got these. I'm going to get rid of this stuff, which I need this one, so I'm going to copy this and put it in place. I'm going to get rid of these because I don't need these ones. Sorry, these right here. I do want. I can get rid of this one because I just put it up there. And now what I want to do is I want to copy these and put them in place. So I've got this one I can put here, this one I can put here, and this one I can put here, and I can kind of see that these, like I can kind of see how that's going to look like that. It's going to look like it kind of is part of that, sort of, almost like it's a shadow. If I was using the same color, I could make this look a little bit more like it's a smooth thing, but if I'm using that for the wall and this for the ground, that'd be really hard. So then what I could do, and we're over 20 minutes already. Oh, are you kidding me? Man, that's no fun. What I could also do is I could add some details. So I'm all sort of still within one tile. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna add sort of a dead torch to this one. So if I'm using pink for walls, I'm going to have to use pink colors unless I wanted to use an object. So what I'll do is, or I could make, man, we're running out of time. Maybe we'll add some details tomorrow. But what I do need to add is I do need this hurt tiles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my floor. It would be this. I'm going to copy that, and I need my hurt tile on this. And so my hurt tile on this, I need bigger spikes, I think. So what I'll do is I'll make, big spikes like this. And I'll make them look like this, and then like that, or something. Make the point like that, and then make the shadow come down. Sort of gives it sort of a rounded look-ish. And again, I'm doing this kind of fast because I realized, wow, I can't believe we're out of time already. I'm just pasting this in. And okay, and we'll copy that. And we'll paste that here. And then I'll just make that gray. So I have to come back and do better spikes because that's terrible. But the point is we've got much better looking graphics. So let's put them in. Let's put them in to our game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this, and we'll come back to this tomorrow. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to call this canvas. And instead of calling player, I'll call it canvas background tiles or dungeon tiles or something like that. I'll open my pixel editor. I'll add a tab. And with that new tab, I will open up my BCK. See, oh, you know what? I'll leave that one alone in case I want to. I'm going to show you how to use a different tile set. So I'll use BCK CHR02. And I'm just going to take this and I'm going to copy it in, all that stuff, and paste it in right here. And I'm going to save it. Don't worry about the colors. Remember, right now it looked like that, but I'm going to actually put it through Dungeon Pal. Okay, so we're save that. And then I'm going to come back over my overworld. And I could actually clear this entire room out. I'm going to go to my tile layout. Right here is where it's telling me which tile set I use. I'm going to use tile set 2. Hit OK. And I'm going to change this to palette Dungeon Pal. And then I'm going to actually get rid of everything that's in here. So I'm going to reset all placements. I'm going to get rid of everything that's in here. I'm going to paint it all gray like this. All of it's gray. And I'm going to get rid of, I could have also deleted the screen. I'm going to change all my collision to 0. And I'm going to recreate the screen using the new graphics that I had. So, wow, I cannot believe how far over 20 minutes I'm going. Jeez, I thought this was going to be a fast tutorial. I just got to cranking. Okay, so now we basically have a setup screen. Now what I could do is I can add that wall that I was talking about like this, and underneath it would be this, and that's a much cooler looking wall. And then I would probably make something similar to this that would come down, and we didn't really have time to do that today. But then at the bottom, I'd have this go across again, and maybe we'll make that vertical wall tomorrow like this. And I want this to be gray. And then maybe what I want to do is maybe I'd put some bricks like here. Or maybe I'd keep them pink. And, you know, maybe I'd put some like spires here or pillars or something like that to make it look interesting. But I just wanted to show like the variety of what this could look like in the screen. And you know what? We don't even have to keep the same color. So maybe what we could do is we can make like fiery red colors for this. So we get more of a light red. No, it's too close. Let's do maybe some greens. Let's do that color, and then we'll do sort of these 3 colors here. That color, so it's like a swamp bricks, and the darkest color. And now I could do my bricks, and that'll give me more color, which will make my game a little bit more interesting. I'll just do that straight across. So I got bricks, I got that, and now I can add like the floor tiles and make it look a little bit more interesting. I wouldn't probably do that. Like what I want to do is I want to use these sort of sparingly throughout the room. Oops, that was the wrong one. I meant to do that. Like this to make it look a little bit more interesting through my room. And now we can see it looks more interesting than it did with just the square blocks that I had in the other one. And that was just a quick little, didn't take me very long. This one and this one. So now if I play my game and I took away all my monsters in this room, my player will look a little bit more in place in this style room. It looks a little bit more interesting than what I had there before. I can put back in my collisions. So that was a tutorial on basically how to create these sort of cool looking bricks, how to make a rock wall, some ideas about how to do an edge for rock wall. We do the same thing with vertical. We would just use the left edge, and then we could do a corner piece. So these are the kinds of things that would add to this. Maybe I'll continue on with that in another tutorial, but we want to keep chugging along. We do have 20 days or so left, so hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you're cranking. I hope this gives you some ideas on creating some cool, game art, and I can't wait to see what you do with these tutorials. Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.